Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today, I'm gonna do pretty much a Saturday, August 14th preview. I'm gonna combine all the cards onto one video because they're not huge cards, and I'm gonna get through the first couple of them pretty damn quick. There's fight cards on DAZN. There's a card on ESPN. And then there's also a card on Showtime. So, jumping into the Showtime card first, you have the main events: Guillermo Rigondeaux taking on Casiermo. This is a world title fight at bantamweight, 118 pounds. Should be a pretty solid main event. Rigondeaux getting up there in age, 40. I think he's 40 years old now, or 39 to 40. You know, the dude can still fight. He can still bring it. Casiermo's no pushover. This should be a good title fight. I'm predicting Rigondeaux to get a decision win in this one and stay world champion and hold a piece of that title as these fighters try to become undisputed. He really makes himself the third piece of the puzzle at 118 pounds, which right now, you know, you got Naoya Inoue, the monster, controlling the division, but Nonito Donaire, a guy that Rigondeaux beat in the past, sitting there also as a world champion. So this makes it very, very interesting if Rigondeaux can pull off the win here, or Casiermo. So we'll see what happens. That should be a good main event right there, though. Undercard sees Antonio Russell, undefeated, bantamweight on the rise, in action. And then you got Rashay Warren, also veteran, in action on the undercard as well. All bantamweight action on Showtime at 7. Now ESPN also kicking off at 7 o'clock. Main evented by Joshua Franco and I believe Andrew Maloney. Super flyweight title fight that's 115 pounds. Should be an entertaining one. I think I'm going with Franco to win this fight, but I really don't know too much about the super flyweights because I really don't follow those divisions that as closely as I do 122 all the way to heavyweight. But should be decent. Undercard's got Arnold Barbosa Jr., 140-pound contender on the rise, undefeated, taking on Antonio Moran, a veteran. So that should be good. And then Muhammad Ali's grandson is making his professional debut also on the undercard. So not a bad night of action between Showtime and ESPN. Those both kick off at 7 o'clock. But the big card of the day takes place Saturday, August 4th, or takes place obviously on August 14th, but it's on DAZN. And the main event first is Virgil Ortiz against Egidijus Kavaliauskas, I think his name is, but they call him the Mean Machine. That's a big fight at welterweight. We'll get to that in a minute as we discuss the undercard first, where you got Felix Alvarado, the flyweight champion, defending his title against Eric Lopez. So Alvarado, pretty solid fighter. That should be an entertaining one, another little guy fight. Then you got Pablo Cesar Cano, 140-pounder, taking on Danielito Zorrilla, who's 15-0 with 11 knockouts. Cano hasn't fought since November of 2019. And, he only fought in 2019. He only fought a total of 3 rounds as he knocked out Jorge Linares in his career best win in the first round. And then took out, I believe, Robert Ortiz in only 2 rounds in November of 2019. So it's been a long layoff for Cano. He's taking on an undefeated guy on the rise. I would still favor Cano, but I really think it could go either way. Cano was ranked into my top 10 until his inactivity took him out. But we'll see if he's ready to climb back into that mix. The co-feature is going to be very good. You don't want to miss it. The third installment, Roger Gutierrez against Rene Alvarado for the WBA regular super featherweight title at 130 pounds. This is going to be a fun, entertaining fight. It could be the fight of the night. They are fighting for a third time. Alvarado Alvarado knocked out Gutierrez in 2017 in the 7th round of an 8-round fight. Knocked him out. He was winning that fight going away. They rematched in January of this year, and Alvarado was coming off of his career best win, in November of 2019, and was looking to make an impression by beating a guy that he's already beaten, and Gutierrez wasn't having it, but it was a very good fight. Gutierrez scored 3 knockdowns. He almost knocked Alvarado out in that fight. Alvarado kept fighting, kept working, and made it to the 12th round, but Gutierrez knocked him down again in the 12th round, and that ended the fight in Gutierrez's favor by 1 point on all 3 judges' scorecards. They all gave Gutierrez the fight 113 to 112, which basically translates into Alvarado won 7 rounds, but because of the 3 knockdowns that he took in the fight, that took away 3 points, and he lost by 1 point on all 3 judges' scorecards, 113-112. Gutierrez became the new champion at 130. Now, Gutierrez has the size advantage over Alvarado, but Alvarado is the better boxer. This is going to be a very good, entertaining little slugfest between 2 guys that can definitely punch, but they can also box a little bit. Gutierrez set those punches up, those punches that scored the knockdowns, and Alvarado is also not one to be messed with. This is going to be a good fight. I think Alvarado wins the rubber match, gets his title back, but it's going to be fun and entertaining. I'm going with Alvarado by a hard-fought decision, but I do think Gutierrez has a very good chance of pulling it off again, and I think this fight could end by knockout, and it could end by knockout at any moment in the fight, because these 2 guys are just bringers. They bring the action and the fight. So make sure you pay attention for this one, because it's going to be fun, it's going to be exciting, and I can't wait to see it. That's the co-feature. The main event, the undefeated Virgil Ortiz Jr. on the rise, coming off of his career best win, an impressive stoppage of former 140-pound champ Maurice Hooker. He's taken on Edigis Kavaliauskas, the Mean Machine, and it's going to be a competitive fight. I'm looking forward to it. Kavaliauskas is no pushover. He gave Terrence Crawford hell back in December of 2019. Caught Crawford off guard, was pressing to action, got on the inside, was hurting Crawford. He put him down, and it was not scored a knockdown. Surprisingly, it should have been, but nonetheless, Kavaliauskas was in that fight. Crawford, stepped on his extra gear, took over the fight, and ended up stopping Kavaliauskas in the 9th round. But Kavaliauskas let everybody know that he's a real deal competitor at 147 pounds. Now he's taking on Virgil Ortiz. Again, Ortiz coming off his career best win, trying to, continue his progression into the top 10 as he makes his march towards the top 5, to be honest. Ortiz broke into the top 10 with the win over Hooker. He's been more and more impressive as he moves forward, and now he's taking on a former world title challenger, recent former world title challenger in Kavaliauskas. This is going to be a good fight. I really think it is. But much to the way of what we saw with Crawford, obviously it's watching the first 4 or 5 rounds is going to be the most exciting on both ends, because it's the kind of fight, more of a brawl is the kind of fight that Kavaliauskas likes. So he's going to try to get on the inside, get that work in, and try to put some pressure on the young Ortiz. But Ortiz also likes to mix it up himself. So he is the better boxer between the 2. So I do think he's going to take a page out of Crawford's book and try to box Kavaliauskas a little bit and let everybody know that you know, that he's the better boxer, but he is going to get thrown in with the Wolf right here in the Mean Machine, and he's going to have to fight his way out. And I think Ortiz is going to pass that test, and I think he's going to pass it with flying colors. I see him breaking down Kavaliauskas, stopping him in the middle to later rounds, and staying undefeated and continuing his progression towards the top 5 of the best division in boxing. So, should be a good one. Saturday, August 14th on DAZN is that card. Don't forget the ESPN and Showtime cards taking place on at 7 o'clock. You remember, you got Riga Dial against Casiermo for the 118-pound title, bantamweight, or super bantamweight. Is that super? No, bantamweight, I'm sorry. And then you have the Joshua Franco, Andrew Maloney showdown taking place on ESPN, and that is for the 115-pound super flyweight title. So don't miss it. Saturday, August 14th, all this action is taking place. I hope you guys enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.